Did you know that not all scientists are atheists? We're going to look at that next.
Greg Fritz Ministries wants to give you an ebook entitled Prepare to Meet Your Maker that accompanies this television series as our gift to you. To download the ebook version of this booklet for free, visit our website, gregfritz.org. Are you tired of hearing bad news? Tune into the good news of the gospel.
I love Greg.
I love the way he teaches faith and the way he teaches healing. It's phenomenal.
Greg Fritz has been changing lives through the good news of the gospel for over 35 years.
Because he delivers the Word of God with such warmth and balance and great clarity.
This good news will inspire, inform, and change you so you can live daily in all the promises of God. Welcome to Good News with Greg Fritz.
Hello, I'm Greg Fritz. Welcome to the Good News program. We are doing a series called Finding God, and we're looking for evidence of God in science, nature, space, history, literature. Everywhere you look, there are signs of the evidence of God. And for those that want a reason to believe God and to believe the Bible, there are reasons. And we're covering those in this series. And I've got a lot of information for you. I'd like for you to get the study notes. These will help you because we're going to cover so many different quotes and scriptures that it'll be helpful to get all of the notes in one place, have them in your possession. You can go to the website and download these for free, or call our helpline and order your free copy of study notes. It's Finding God. And if you want to go another step further, we have the entire series, all 20 of these episodes, on USB. We have them in video and audio. We're calling this a USB bundle, and it's going to have all of this teaching, plus it'll have the ebook, Prepare to Meet Your Maker, Are You Ready for Eternity? And this will show you, this will teach you how to seek God, and this will show you what to do when you find Him. So we have all the bases covered here for people who really honestly want to know, why should I believe in God? We want to give you enough information to start your journey and then help you along the way. So I think you'll find this extremely helpful. As I've said before, you know, I believed the Bible just growing up. I never heard anything else. You know, my parents believed the Bible. I went to church. They believed the Bible, and I believed the Bible, and it worked for me. But there are people who have had no exposure to the Bible, and to them it's, you know, they don't see any difference between that and any other book, and they want a reason to believe. They honestly, maybe they don't believe, but they're open. They want a reason to believe. Well, there's plenty of reasons, and you know, you don't have to feel like you're forfeiting intelligence or science or education in order to believe in God, because God created everything. His Word, His book does not contradict the laws that He put in place. And so we can have confidence that we can believe what God said and believe that it doesn't contradict the laws of science. Now, it does contradict atheism, obviously, but to think about this, science does not prove or disprove atheism. Atheism is a belief. Science is based on observation and experiments. So you can't say there's not a God, and you can't necessarily say there is a God based on science alone. So to say either one is faith. To say that there's a God, certainly that's based on faith, but to say there isn't, to say that, because if you say there isn't, what you're saying is that nothing created everything for no reason. That is a leap of faith. That's not science. That's definitely faith. Science would say we haven't found the cause, but we know what happened, but we just don't know how it happened. That would be a little more honest because it's inconclusive. So I had an encounter with a scientist who informed me that he was an atheist, and it kind of triggered all of this research and study that I've done on this subject for the last several years. And then I got a book called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. And I was sharing some of my conclusions with a pastor friend of mine, and My statement was some of these people who believe in atheism, who believe in evolution, have more faith in nothing, because they believe nothing created everything. They have more faith in nothing than some Christians have in God. And he said, well, you need to get this book. It's called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist, and it's written by Norman Geisler and Frank Turek. And so I'm going to quote from that book. Let me read a quote from that here. It confirms so many things that I already said or felt. Of course, they did it in a much more educated way. These men are, Geisler, he taught philosophy and apologetics on a college or graduate level for over 50 years at Dallas Theological Seminary and Liberty University. So he spent 50 years teaching, and he's one of the authors. Frank Turek is a speaker and an author. And he's one of the leading apologists and experts and cultural commentator, and has appeared on many top TV programs. And he goes to college campuses and he debates or answers questions about these things. So they spent their lives compiling this research that we get the benefit of. But here's what they said. It's kind of a conclusion, and this was the same conclusion I came to. It says, but since we are finite creatures who must make our decisions based on probability, there has to be a point where we realize that the weight of the evidence comes down on one side or the other. We'll never have all the answers, but there are more than enough answers to give God the benefit of our doubts. And so that's really what we're saying is, I'm not going to prove that God exists by having Him appear to you or visit you in your home and you could shake His hand and see His form. That's not how this works. But I will give you enough evidence to begin your search by faith, and you can find God by faith like the rest of us have. And it's not a long search. God's not playing hard to get. He's easy to find when you begin your journey and you begin to believe that God exists. So I'm going to give you two laws, scientific laws, that don't disprove creation. And that's one of the greatest discoveries that I made as I really read through a lot of this research, is that scientific discoveries have not disproven creation. They haven't. They haven't disproven or proven that God does not exist. They haven't done that. In fact, there isn't anything that I know of. Now, maybe there are things that I'm not aware of yet, but let me just say it this way. If there is a place where science disagrees with the Bible is going to be found to be correct. And there were times when it didn't, when they thought the earth was flat, and the Bible talked about the circle of the earth. There are other instances where the Bible was way beyond its time, way beyond science, and they had contradictions, and finally science caught up with the Bible. So obviously the Bible's not a scientific book, but the important point here is this, that science does not prove that God doesn't exist. And you can believe the Bible and still appreciate and believe science as well. There are two laws of thermodynamics. The first law is the first law of thermodynamics is matter and energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So what they're saying in the book, that the universe could not have come into existence by itself. Something cannot come from nothing. To do so would contradict scientific laws. So if you, in this bubble of this universe we live in, time, space, matter, you cannot create or destroy. Things change form, but they're here. And so the law of thermodynamics is matter and energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So the Big Bang, which they think created everything, I believe it was God, represents the instantaneous suspension of physical laws because things were created, lots of things. It all came into being from nothing. And so that's a suspension of scientific laws. So scientists know that had to happen because they know that the universe has a beginning. And it's interesting how the Bible fills in that gap perfectly in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, before there was anything, there was God. in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Don't you love that? That makes sense, that there was a suspension of physical laws because matter can't be destroyed or created because it's already here. Well, how did it get here? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So the Big Bang, maybe there was a Big Bang, but it was right after God said, let there be light. I mean, God initiated this. So then the second law of thermodynamics is the law of increasing entropy. Every ordered system over time tends to become more disordered. Things do not become more complex, which is what they want us to be. So the laws of, this is not the Bible. This is a law of science, that things devolve. And yet they want us to believe that from one single cell, everything evolved. And you and I came from that. That really does rob us of meaning. It robs life of meaning if that's true. If it was an accident caused by chance alone, that a cell, living things came from non-living matter, and this cell evolved into humanity. I mean, the more you talk about these things, the more crazy it sounds. It makes, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth sound perfectly logical. They've got to have something that is the source, the origin of all these things. You can study and see things and discover laws that are in place, and you can discover new planets. But the question has to be asked, where did it come from? Who started this? How did this happen? I've got an answer. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. I just love that. So, there's two unanswered questions that really cause trouble for scientists, evolutionists, atheists, and that is this: the origin of non-living matter and the origin of living organisms. They cannot answer those two questions, and those are vital. And I would rather they not try to answer them. This universe could not have made itself. It had to have a beginning. They believe it was created by chance. I believe it was created by God. The origin of life beyond non-living material. They believe that out of the primordial soup, some pond somewhere in ancient history, some cell emerged for no apparent reason. They can't duplicate that in a laboratory, and they've never seen that happen. They haven't observed it. So by definition, that's not science. Science comes to a conclusion based on experimentation and observation. You can't observe non-living material springing to life. They call it spontaneous generation. It's never been seen. They can't produce it. It's never been done in a laboratory. I got a great answer for them, that God Himself in Genesis 1 created all the plants and the herbs. God Himself created the animals and the beasts of the field, the birds of the air and the fish of the sea. God did it. That's not that absurd, really, when you think about what they're telling us. I'm not a scientist. I love science, and I love the benefits that we have because of science. So I'm not talking disparagingly of science or the field of science, but I'm talking about science specifically as how it relates to faith. When they go beyond science to tell us there's no God, they can't say that in all sincerity, because they should say we haven't found Him, we haven't discovered a God. But they shouldn't tell our children in classrooms there is no God. That does damage to society. That does damage to our children, to people who are born and created to seek and find God. So we're doing them an incredible disservice by telling them there is no God, because many of them believe that. But that's just not true. So I would prefer they stay out of the area of faith, but they haven't. They have weighed in and given us their explanation. They used to call it the theory of evolution. Now they don't call it a theory. They give nature credit for what God did. They give evolution credit for what God did. They give nothing credit for what they would be better off to say, we don't know. We're not going to touch that. That you know, you're going to have to come to your own conclusions. Science cannot definitively say whether there's a God or exactly what caused the universe to come into being. Now, you say, well, they have to say that there's no, because they're scientists and they're just going where the facts lead. Well, they say that there's aliens and they never found them. There's no proof, there's no observation, there's no experimentation, there's no evidence, and yet they don't give that up. In fact, I've heard them say, they're out there, we just haven't found them yet. Why don't they say that about God? Why don't they say, He's out there, something did this, it's an amazing thing, and we haven't found Him yet, but we're sure that He exists. Why don't they use forensic science on creation? They're literally walking up into creation, which is the greatest work of art, the greatest masterpiece ever created. And they study it every day. And they're saying, no one did this. There is no one responsible for this. That would be like coming onto a crime scene where you got all the evidence of a crime. A crime was committed, and you got the broken pieces, you got footprints, fingerprints, you got all the evidence, and saying, you know what? There was really no criminal here. It was just a random act of chance. And we're not going to search for criminal because there isn't one. No one in their right mind would come on a crime scene and say there's no criminal. No one in their right mind would look at a piece of art and say there's really no artist. That just happened. It's a beautiful accident. Isn't it wonderful? No one did that. And yet, they do that with creation all the time, and they expect us to believe it. And that's why I feel like we should speak up. Because there are millions of people today on the planet that didn't grow up in church, they didn't grow up with the Bible, they didn't grow up believing in God. And it could be that life has gotten to a place, and I pray that they are at this place, where they're saying, I'm willing to be open to the idea of a God. I'm willing, but I want evidence. I would like some evidence. Well, did you know that not all scientists are atheists? I didn't know that. I thought they all were. You know, when I met a scientist and he was showing me a home next door to his own, he informed me that he was an atheist. He found out I was a preacher, so he said he let me know he was an atheist. And he said, I'm a scientist, therefore I'm an atheist. Well, I thought they were all atheists. I thought that if you follow the facts, you've got to conclude there is no God. And you know what? That's just not true. We've been told that, we've been led to believe that, but it's not true. Notice what Arthur Compton, he's a Nobel Prize winner in physics, said. He said, science is the glimpse of God's purpose in nature. The very existence of the amazing world of the atom and radiation points to a purposeful creation, to the idea that there is a God, an intelligent purpose back of everything, and an orderly universe testifies to the greatest statement ever uttered, in the beginning, God. I couldn't have said it better myself, but then I'm not a physicist and a Nobel Prize winner, so that's why I quoted Arthur Compton. You don't have to be an atheist if you're a scientist. You don't have to be an atheist if you're educated. You don't have to be an atheist if you're smarter than the rest of us. Don't believe that lie. There are very highly intelligent people that have taken a look at all of the facts, and the deeper they look, the more they believe that there is a God. You can be one of those. You don't have to be an atheist. I mean, common sense will tell you that things as magnificent and as precise and as beautiful and as wonderful as the universe don't happen accidentally. I mean, you know, to believe that they do is to believe a lie. Louis Pasteur, he was actually a Christian. He's known for developing the process of pasteurization. He said, a little science estranges men from God, but much science leads them back. I like that, don't you? This just means there are scientists that believe in God. They're not mutually exclusive. I have really felt that they were my whole life. You know why? Because I grew up in church. I grew up reading the Bible, teaching the Bible, and I just thought, you know what? Scientists are so smart, they're so educated, they're so far beyond us that they're just beyond believing in God. It's just not true. They're misinterpreting the evidence that's right in front of their face. And they don't have to. In fact, some of them are doing that willingly and knowingly because they don't want to believe in God. And let me tell you one of the quirks of the world, this universe in which we live, this dispensation that we're in, this human history that we're concluding rapidly. You and I and anyone else can live your entire life as if there is no God, and He won't stop you. That is one of the paradoxes of the universe, in my opinion. He made this, He created it all, He's responsible for it all, and He'll literally let people live in His world, drink His water, breathe His air, eat His food, and believe and say and go on record as saying there is no God, and I'm going to live my life as if God does not exist. And they can. It doesn't mean He doesn't exist, and it doesn't mean that a day of reckoning won't come. Man, I just encourage you, get with the program. Use some common sense. Apply some forensic science to the creation and realize there can't be a crime without a criminal. There can't be a work of art without an artist. And there can't be a creation without a creator. And if that's the case, we should find Him because He's actually responsible for your existence. So for that reason, we should say, I'm going to look for the one responsible for this and at least thank Him for giving me a life to live. Man, that's the least we can do. Here's a statement that blows my mind. Francis Crick, now this is I don't have enough faith to be an atheist, but Francis Crick was the co-discoverer of DNA. He was an ardent Darwinist, evolutionist, atheist. In fact, the appearance of design, when they study DNA and they look at this is microbiology, microphysics. I mean, they're looking at the DNA, which we'll get into later. But he said biologists must constantly keep in mind that what they see was not designed, but rather evolved. Man, he's just saying, hang on to your faith that there's no God. When you look on a cellular level, you're going to see things that scream, this was designed, this is artwork, this is fast, this is brilliant. Always keep in mind that it evolved. Why? So you don't have to give up your atheism. You know what? That's fine. If they want to live that way, if they want to give their life away to nothing, that's up to them. But I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to millions of people who are in the balance, who have listened to these guys and believe their one-sided view of things. You don't have to be caught up in that. You don't have to go down that road. You can open your mind. You're responsible for your life. And you can say, I am going to believe in a living God. I'm going to open my mind and my faith to the possibility that there is a God, and I'm going to search. I'm going to go down that road. Have you been down the other road? There's nothing there. There's nothing to live for. There's nothing to die for. There's nothing to look forward to. There's nothing on the other side of physical death. But if you choose the road that begins by saying, there is a God, and I'm going to find Him, I can promise you, you will. If you seek Him, you'll find Him. If you call upon Him, He will answer you. If you pray to Him with all of your heart, you will find Him. But it's those that haven't sought that haven't found. And listening to people like this, you would think, what's the use? Why should I even try? Why should I even look? He's not there. He is there. Even these guys that see things on a cellular level are nearly persuaded to believe that there is a designer. And that's what they're supposed to do. You know, here's the thing. I'm a pretty honest person. I strive to be honest with myself and with you, and you have the idea that everybody else is too. But listen, folks, we live in a world where everything has been corrupted. Every institution that we trusted in, that we believed in, and I don't want to go down the list right now, because I'll just make someone mad and then they won't listen to the rest of the message, but every institution you can name has been corrupted. And leaders are not telling us the truth always. And you know, when we were young and maybe the country was at a different place, the society, your experts were trying to help you, but that's not always the case now. We're not being told the truth. It'll help us to look more deeply and be a little more skeptical to the things we're hearing. People have agendas. And for whatever reason, these scientists have taken on, a lot of them, not all of them, but some of them have taken on this godless agenda that they're pushing and promoting. It's not science. Science would stop at that point and not speculate on that blank, which is, how did it all start? We don't know. It's going to be faith from here on out, and you can make up your own mind. No, they try to answer that question. If someone tells you unequivocally that there is no God, they're lying to you. I don't care how many initials they have after their name. It's not true. Whether they're a scientist, a doctor, a philosopher, a narrator on a documentary, and I'm tired of these documentaries giving evolution credit for what God did. They see something beautiful and brilliant in some species and they go, evolution has, no, let's just put God in there, because since that's going to be filled in by faith one way or the other, we might as well put God. I choose to believe in God. You choose to believe in nothing. They ought to say it that way. They ought to say, nothing has provided this species with this mechanism to promote their lifespan. Yeah, well, I believe God did it. And that doesn't make me an idiot. They cannot prove through science that there is no God. It cannot be done. I've got so much more. I keep running out of time on every show, and there's a few things that I have to do, I need to do. I need your help. And I believe many of you have been watching this program over time, and you've said, I want to give to them, I want to help them, I want to help this good news program, but you just haven't done it yet. Well, can I encourage you to do it today? We really need your help. We're still dealing with a deficit. We've made up a lot of ground, and I'm grateful for that, but we need more partners, we need more givers. The ways to give are on your screen. If you've had a soft spot in your heart for what we're doing, you believe in it, you like it, maybe you've even told people about it, you try to watch us when you can, please don't put it off. Please look at the ways to give, text to give, call our helpline, and we'll help you. But do something to promote this cause, because it's a good cause.